Hello, I'm Ken Carpenter, and this is Invest AI Savvy, where AI powers smart investing. Happy Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. Today, signal of the day is Beyond Me, a small cap equity trading around $1.60. But before we get to today's signal, let's take a quick lap around what BuzzPulse has surfaced over the last 2 weeks, because the proof is starting to stack up. RIOT Platforms was flagged on Thursday, April 3rd, as a supporting signal at $12.86. By Friday, April 10th, the system promoted it to signal of the day at $16.69. Friday's close, $18. From first flag to last week's close, that is a move of nearly 40%. AMC was also first flagged on April 3rd at $1.12. The system kept bringing it back, and on April 19th, it returned as signal of the day at $1.86. That's a 66% move from the first detection. Mara, M-A-R-A, the other Bitcoin miner, was supporting signal on April 3rd at $8.71 and closed Friday at $11.60, up roughly 33%. BMNR was flagged April 4th at 1945 and ran about 9% in the first 3 days. And on April 17th, QBTS was signal of the day at $20.81 and closed the same day up over 4%. I want to be very clear about what the scorecard does and does not mean. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Not every BuzzPulse signal works. The point of running these numbers in public is not to brag, it's to show you that the convergence methodology is repeatable and to remind you that when we keep talking about social attention plus short interest plus cheap options as a real combination, when those three things stack up on a name retail recognizes, the system flags it. Whether it works is up to the tape. Now today, before we dig in, a quick word on the macro backdrop, because nothing on the tape today makes sense without it. The ceasefire that took effect on April 8th expires tomorrow, Wednesday, April 22nd, and the second round of Islamabad talks were supposed to be happening right now. Here's the problem. As of this morning, 7 o'clock Pacific East Western, Iran has not confirmed it will send a delegation. Iranian state television has gone on the record saying no Iranian team has entered Pakistan. The original Monday meeting was disrupted after Iran pulled back, reportedly in response to the U.S. Navy seizing an Iranian-flagged cargo ship off the coast of Oman over the weekend. Vice President Vance and the U.S. delegation are en route or already on the ground in Islamabad. Whether they have anyone to talk to is still an open question as of the market open. The first round of talks, which ended April 12th, ran 21 hours across 2 days and produced no deal. Trump responded by imposing a naval blockade on Iranian ports the next day, and that blockade is still in effect. The Strait of Hormuz is still effectively closed. Brent crude is trading near $95 a barrel this morning, more than 30% above where it was before the war started in late February. Iranian Parliament Speaker Gabrielov posted on social media yesterday that Iran will not negotiate under what he called the shadow of threats, and said Iran has, in his words, new cards on the battlefield. Trump has responded with threats of intensified strikes if no deal is reached before the ceasefire expires. So we are roughly 36 hours from a hard deadline, with the second round of talks in serious doubt, an active U.S. naval blockade, and oil sitting near $95. That's the world we're trading in this morning. Now, before we go further, BuzzPulse is a social intelligence tool. Everything you hear today is data and commentary, not investment advice. I'm not your financial advisor, so please do your own research before putting any money anywhere. Now, why does any of this matter for today's signals? Because when oil sits at $95 and the market doesn't know whether there will even be a negotiation today, capital does two things at once. It runs from anything fragile and it hunts for asymmetric setups in names where short interest, cheap options, and social attention are already stacked. That is exactly the convergence pattern BuzzPulse is flagging this morning. The names that surface today are not safe haven trades. They are high beta, high short interest, attention-driven setups, the kind of tape that can move violently in either direction when the next headline crosses the wire out of Islamabad or Tehran. So with that context in mind, let's go through what BuzzPulse surfaced. Beyond Meat cleared 11 independent quality gates this morning with a Z-score of 15.7. That is explosive territory. The convergence is clean. BuzzPulse fired at 15.7. Momentum is confirmed. Sentiment is sitting at plus 0.42, which is bullish. Here's where it gets interesting. Short interest on Beyond Meat is 31%. That is squeeze level fuel if this continues. The options intelligence layer adds another wrinkle. Implied volatility rank is at 0%, which means options are historically cheap right now, and the flow confirms direction. When social surge, technical momentum, sentiment, and options positioning all line up on a high short interest name, you're looking at a setup that can move fast in either direction. Beyond Meat is getting mentioned alongside meme stock discussions with rocket emojis. That is classic retail social sentiment, which means this is attention driven, not fundamentals driven. The stock has been a battleground for years. The plant-based food thesis has cooled, but social attention does not care about narratives when squeeze mechanics are in play, especially tape where macro fear is pushing traders toward asymmetric bets. What to watch? If volume continues and the stock Beyond Meat holds above $1.20, the short interest becomes a real problem for anyone on the wrong side. If it fades back below $1, this was noise. The convergence depth here is what makes it signal of the day. 11 independent signals do not fire at once by accident. And if you remember what we just said about AMC, first flagged at 112, ran to 186, Beyond Meat is sitting in almost the exact setup zone right now. Supporting signal number one is BlackBerry, a mid-cap equity trading at $5.50, Z-score of 20.0. That's the highest surge reading in today's run. Greed score is 0.550, the second highest alpha potential in the entire scan. Momentum is confirmed, sentiment is plus 0.51, and implied volatility rank is at 0%. Options are cheap here too. The catalyst is interesting. A trader implied BlackBerry was the better choice compared to other meme names, suggesting relative optimism. This is not a fundamental story, it's a social positioning story. When a name like BlackBerry gets this kind of attention with the Z-score over 20, it's worth tracking. The setup rhymes with Beyond Meat, high social surge, cheap options, and a ticker that retail knows by heart. If you're watching this space, BlackBerry is the secondary confirmation that attention is rotating back into 2021 era names. And that pattern tends to accelerate when the broader tape gets nervous and traders go hunting for high octane setups. Supporting signal number two is CleanSpark, a mid-cap equity trading at $12.05. Z-score 13.8, greed score 0.550, sentiment plus 0.5. Now here's the kicker. Short interest is 47%. That's the highest short interest in today's top signals. Implied volatility rank is at 0%. Options are cheap, and CleanSpark was grouped in short squeeze discussions on social platforms. This is a Bitcoin miner, same sector that gave us the RIOT platform's 40% run and the Mara 33% run over the last 2 weeks. With Bitcoin surging, with Bitcoin sitting stable and all attention building, CleanSpark gets dual exposure. The convergence here is social surge plus squeeze mechanics plus sector tailwinds. Momentum is confirmed. If Bitcoin holds and social attention continues, CleanSpark has room to run. If Bitcoin rolls over, this setup dies fast. Keep in mind, the same geopolitical pressure that is keeping oil at $95 is also part of what is keeping Bitcoin bid as a non-sovereign asset. So the macro and the micro are pointing the same direction here for right now. Putting it all together, 3 convergence signals, all with cheap options, all with serious short interest, all with confirmed momentum, all surfacing on a day when the ceasefire clock is running out and it's not even clear whether there will be a negotiation before it does. That's not random. That is capital looking for the next squeeze while the headlines do the work of pushing volatility higher. The proof layer from the last 2 weeks shows the system has caught the rotation in real time. Whether today's 3 names follow the same arc is what we're about to find out. Remember, BuzzPulse tells you what the market is talking about and whether that attention is unusual. It doesn't tell you whether or not to buy or sell anything, okay? That's your call. But I'm Ken Carpenter. This is Invest AI Savvy, and that's the way it is.